Hey guys, today the Lather Games theme for the 17th here is is Wicked Edge, I believe, and the point is to go back and use the gear that you used first. Find that first soap that you used, use it. That's the main theme of today, and a lot of people are also stepping back and finding the gear that they used as well. But specifically for the Lather Games, the requirement is just the soap. And that I was able to find the Vanderhagen Deluxe Shave Soap. Um, and I got mine at Walmart years and years ago. I actually used that whole puck up, and then I moved on. And then that's what kind of started me exploring other things. But I was able to, years ago, I actually got this in a lot purchase and I never used it. And I just tucked it away. And right before the Lather Games, I saw it and I thought that's perfect for this day. It's exactly what I need. So the hoarder in me was validated, right? The brush we're going to use is the 1305 Simogue because the first boar brush I ever purchased was this very same knot right here. But it was in the 830 Simogue, which is the same knot, but with a shorter acrylic handle. I like this handle much better now that I know more about the way I shave. I want to get it back in the water. The Tech was one of the first razors I used, and so I'm using it today. This is a triangle slotted Tech. The four long slots here have one side that kind of comes to a triangle, and that tells you that it's a pre-war Tech, one made before the war in the early 40s. I'm going to go ahead and put the Nasset blade in it while we have it. There's the N1 on there. And I dropped the blade because I wasn't being careful. Be right back. At least this time it didn't have a blade, the head attached to it so that it got bent again, right? Give it a good rinse. Okay. So the Nasset again. Let's put it where it goes. Now these Techs are great pieces. I highly recommend them to new shavers, and that's part of the daily challenge for today is to be preachy to the new shavers out there, kind of how Leisure Guy likes to do. If you go to the wet shaving and look at today's SOTD theme post thread thing, talks about Leisure Guy and kind of in a tongue-in-cheek way. One of the big guys who throws around why MMV, your mileage may vary. And so we will put the Tech in there and eagerly look forward to seeing how such a smooth razor is going to, such a mild razor is going to work during that against the grain pass right here. 394 looks like that's going to be today's count for the Nasset. Let's unpack this soap. Now this is a soap that I enjoyed when I first used it and didn't have anything to compare it to. And I haven't gone back because I used up the whole puck. I haven't had any kind of need to go back and try it again. Decent, kind of powdery smell. Let's do our 40 milliliters of water here. And then as the frag, I didn't really have any colognes back then other than the Old Spice aftershave or something like that. So I just picked one that smelled old, Azzaro Pour Homme. Don't always have to match. Try as best we can, right? And today is a bit of a hurry. I've got about an hour and 10 minutes to shave and do my write-up, so it's going to be tight. Okay, one of these days I'm going to do my broadcast a little sooner in the day. Get some of you East Coast folks before you go to bed, right? All right, get my face wet. All right. Hey, Zachary. What's up, man? All right, so let's load This is a Colonel Conk type plastic container here. Well, I'm just really curious how this lather is going to end up. I'm not going to care too much about how I do it. I'm just kind of going to do it for a while here. It's not a soap that I'm going to use very often at all, so timing it doesn't really matter too much. We're just going to watch the lather. In the absence of any other rules, I'm going to just kind of watch until the lather starts to maybe change a little bit from being so light and airy and bubbly. All right, there we go. Let's try that. And it probably would lather a little easier if it were placed in the bottom of that apothecary mug that they sold with their kit, or some other mug that fits this size. The soap is not bad, as I recall. And the razor is not bad either. The one I started out with in that set, not bad at all. And for the price at the time, Walmart, $15, $17, something like that. That's a pretty good price for a Zamac razor. Lasts you a good while. Reasonable shaver. Now, several years before I bought mine, they were not good shavers because the exposure was so negative that you'd have to actually press down, and you'd establish bad shaving habits, having to press down to make it cut you, to make it give you a good shave. Seth, yeah, it's really funny. I also run across some of those posts where somebody mentions there's some guy that's got 200 shaves on it. And I'm like, yeah, you haven't seen one of my shaves in a while, have you? That's right, Linus. Yes, my heart sank a little bit too, but it looks to be okay. Lather's looking pretty good. It serves me right, Linus, for trying to hold it with two hands, showing it to the camera, but then you can't bring something down holding it gingerly on the ends with two hands and expect both hands to move at the same rate of speed, right? That's probably what the problem was. I was pretty generous with the water, and it looks like we've got a good lather here. That's pretty hydrated. I don't have a ton of it, so let's just use this and see what we end up with. Maybe I'll just do a 3-pass shave and we'll just see. So the advice for newbies. Well, a lot of people are going to share today the common stuff, like make sure you're adding a lot of water to your lather. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back to the soap here. Just get a little bit more on here. A lot of people shave with lathers that are too dry, in my opinion. But the number one rule is play around with it and find something you like and enjoy. And as long as you enjoy it, then it's cool. If your preference is something totally opposite somebody else's preference, then who cares? Just do your thing. Now, I would advise you to, find good folks who make good lather and try new things out, because you never know when you might discover something that's better than something that you're doing. Also, my age-old advice is always to technique over tools. And I did not follow that advice when I was a new shaver because I thought I was alone. I didn't have any connection with other shavers when I was learning. And so I thought that I needed to try a bunch of blades, which is still true. I thought that if a razor didn't shave right when I was in my second month of shaving this way, that it was the razor's fault. And I should read reviews until I found a razor that shaved more smoothly. Yeah, Peter, welcome. Good timing. Peter, I dropped my blade. I was showing it, validating its authenticity to the camera, and I also had the puck of soap in my hand. I just had too many things, so the blade took a spill. But it's okay. All right. Well, we're about to find out, right? I may have a stroke here and then have a stroke. Who knows? All right. I gave it a good wash off. Yes. Yes. Now this lather feels pretty good. It's a little on the dry side, but I don't have time to tweak it too much today. You know what? Let's just treat it like I do sometimes with the first pass and not do too much buffing. We'll do it with the grain. See, that's pretty fast. Just to kind of take off the, half the bristles or something like that. The soap is the first one, the first soap I ever used, which is Van der Hagen Deluxe. That is the day, the theme day, the point of today in the lather games is to use the first soap you ever used. Not necessarily the same instance of it, but the same model of it. Looks like we're going to have plenty of lather. Cross grain now. Definitely feeling the blade, the light tugginess here. I've always thought, let me rephrase that. I've come to believe that the Tech is not actually a mild razor because I get some exposure from it. Now, somebody who has really thick lather, a dry lather, is probably going to think it's very mild. Because of the thickness of the lather, the blade isn't allowed to get as close to their skin. Okay, that's good to see such quick passes. I am reducing this stubble. Yeah, Peter, actually the lather here it's reasonable. It's kind of a wet, watery kind of slickness. There are definitely better soaps, but it's not too bad. And its price point is not too bad. They don't charge a lot for it, Now, my Walmart that I bought all this stuff when I first started, they stopped carrying the Van der Hagen soap. The scent is very, very mild. Pretty kind of generic. The powdery scent that I smelled when it was dry has gone away. So, advice to new users for the daily challenge. If you are the kind of person who likes to really get skillful at something, then the best advice is for you to Pick a good razor that a lot of people are using, something in the middle ground, and use it. And don't get anything else. Pick a decent soap. Get samples, but it might be wise to stick with the same soap base while you're learning. And get a blade sampler so you can find a comfy blade for you at the very beginning. But keep in mind, keep the ones you don't use. Come back and try them again later. For heaven's sake, if you're in the first 5 months, maybe even 8 months of shaving, don't post reviews online. Oh man, I wrote so many words describing the differences of blades, and it was all wasted time because it's so subjective and your technique isn't there yet. Don't buy on Amazon. There's just too much junk on there. Rebranded Zamac costing way too much. And so that's my advice. If you're the kind of person that really wants to do well at it, because you start with stability and then you get stable, get good technique, start slow. Speed will come with muscle memory and things like that. It's okay that it's awkward at the beginning. Most skillful things are, like sports, golf, things like that. You have to start off slow and let your muscles learn how to be correct. And then gradually things get faster and stronger. Now, if you're the other kind of person, my advice is different. If you're the kind of person like me and you just want to try out all kinds of stuff, then I suggest you get on eBay and watch out for a lot of razors of the vintage variety. And they'll come by every once in a while, $25, $30. And you can get 6 or 10 razors. And it's assuming they look pretty good. And then you can play around with them. So that's 4 passes, pretty quick. Now, if you're playing around with various razors, playing around with different blades and all kinds of variables and different soap samples, then if you start getting lather problems, then maybe back it up, pick one, stick with it until you resolve your issues. I watched, I read somebody's post one time that said there's actually merit in keeping going with a bad razor, certain kinds of bad razors, because what you do is you still learn some, as long as you don't learn bad habits, you still learn to make the best of that bad razor. And then when you get a good razor, then you are even better with it. And so sometimes a bad razor is just fine to learn on. You know, I thought that was a neat point. Oh, a sale on AliExpress. Okay, well, have to check that out. Yeah, the 1111 is another Chinese thing. All right, last pass. I'll just do my face for grins. I don't really need to, but as you can see, it just takes a few seconds. This is not a very slick soap, but this is also very wet right now. It's working. It's kind of like Perazzo. It's not bad if you get it really cheap. Now, let's do that against the grain pass here. Not bad. Not feeling too bad. Just a little bit of tugging. And we can grab a little bit of hand lather from the bowl. Hit it again to try to mow down that little forest right there. And there we go. Let's check out the closeness. Hey, pretty good. I'm happy with that. That'll do. Now, as a post shave, one of the earliest post shaves I had was Thayers Witch Hazel, alcohol-free, unscented. The very first one I had was one that was highly recommended. Nivea post-shave balm. The sensitive version does not have alcohol. This is Thayers, and I put it in this spray bottle because I like the way that it evenly coats across your hand instead of dribbling some in your palm and having it run out of your fingers. And it's real convenient. And so this, of course, is good for folks who have sensitive skin and don't want to put an alcohol product on there. But I did learn that alcohol is a natural byproduct of the witch hazel process. And so it is definitely a reduced solution if you get the alcohol-free version. You'll probably get more health benefits and stuff from the witch hazel on your skin if you do get the alcohol version. All right, well, there we go. And I can go ahead and put this cologne on and we'll just see how, because this was a pretty scent-free shave with the Vanderhagen. It wasn't a bad soap. Like I said, it did the job, but most other soaps that you've seen me use are going to be better. Good to put another use on the 1305. It's at about 27 uses maybe. The water we used for however much loading we did was almost 25 milliliters. So that's almost 5 teaspoons. And the tech did great. The dropping of the blade didn't seem to do a big deal to it at all. I didn't feel any difference. We've got a nice close shave. Pretty good. Pretty good. So also to newbies, watch Michael Friedberg's 4-part wet shaving tutorial. Highly recommended. Some of Mantic 59's videos are also very well recommended. I think those are good starts. I watched a lot of Geo Fat Boy's stuff in the beginning, but I always kind of felt like he was trying to sell me something. And some of his techniques are good, but I don't really recommend his stuff anymore. He's one of those guys, I think, that propagates the alum, concept of always use alum after a shave. And I think a lot of people drop that off pretty quickly. Oh, wisdom teeth pulled. Yeah, I had mine pulled years ago. That is not fun at all. Oh man, yes. Yeah, it's hard to wait for the new gear when you can't use it. That's the truth. Like right now during the Lather games, if I get I'm glad I'm not actually receiving any new soaps or anything like that. I do actually have one, Ideal Man from Hub City Soap Company. Got that sitting waiting for me, but the scent is kind of light, and so it's not really pulling at me with a lot of fervor. Peter, yes, if you're asking me, I am able to get my shaves posted in the Lather games on time. And matter of fact, yep, I should still be okay. More anything else to preach to the new guys? So I was saying, yeah, buy an assortment of razors if you want, but don't buy any high-end stuff in the beginning unless you're just made of money. Because you don't, there are mild high-end razors, there are highly aggressive high-end razors. And so you could, like I did, I bought a Charcoal Goods razor that was expensive, and I couldn't really use it. It was way too aggressive. And so just because it's cost more doesn't mean that it's better. I also recommend buying used, because then often you can sell it for the same price or close to it that you bought it And so if you do have to make a mistake in a brush choice or a razor choice, then you can trade off, pass it on to somebody else and, sell your stuff instead of taking the hit on something new. Um, but hey, once you learn good technique, once you are getting good shaves with one or more razors reliably and with a great number of blades, go crazy, play around, try a bunch of stuff if you want. But and if you want to try a lot of stuff at the beginning, do it. But if you end up a little frustrated, then that means it's time to back off to help improve your skills. Because it might take you longer to develop those proper skills if you vary things too much in the beginning. And that's what I did. But I ended up here. So it works out. It just might take a little bit longer. Yeah. Give it time. There are definitely times in the beginning where I didn't know what to improve. I didn't know what to change. I was doing the best I could. But focusing on that light touch, my big things are light touch. Let the razor be like a shock absorber going over your skin. Hold it loosely, just enough to control it, but not enough to press it into your skin. And let it be on top of your skin and let it go over bumps instead of through them, and then that, I think, will help you. Very wet lathers, of course. I've always talked about that. Yeah. Don't rush it. It's hard to be patient when there are so many new razors out there and neat looking razors, and some of them are cheap. And yeah. Oh, Peter, you might be talking to thumbs. Right. Gotcha. There's the context there. And there we go. Check out some shave videos. Try some people's techniques. Michael Friedberg, good folks like HD Shaves. Oh, the precision lathering video from Cosmo Barber. Terrific. Very similar to my own style with when I scoop and that sort of thing. Check his out. His might. No, I'm not going to say for sure, but yeah, check that one out. Look at different people's styles. Give them a shot. Also, remember that when you give something a shot, if you fail at it, it may be because you suck at trying a new thing because you haven't done it enough. Don't blame the new thing, right? Also, big tip for beginners. I think a boar brush, a small, inexpensive boar from maybe Smogue or Zenith, is a great way to start. And this is not popular advice because they're inexpensive, just about as cheap as a synthetic. Synthetics are the biggest recommended brushes out there. But they're so artificially soft that they kind of spoil you. I recommend getting a little boar brush. Watch how it grows as you use it. Give it a couple of weeks of use before you throw it away because it'll break in. And when you see that thing grow and it's so dynamic and organic, and it's a fun experience to see it change from something that's a chore to soften up with those tips splitting and splaying open and that sort of thing. It's really fun to see that. And then after you use that for a few months or several months, then sure, go buy a synthetic. And a lot of people like those. I don't because of the backbone, but you now have a base to compare. Because if you get this artificial soft tips of the synthetic, it's hard to go other places sometimes. And don't worry about those Badger brushes that are super expensive. I recommend just buying used stuff that's really inexpensive until you kind of find out what you like and what you don't, that kind of thing. Yeah. Hunt around. Thumbs is talking about finding the right blades. And it depends on your razor, but a lot of times You get that blade that just happens to work better for you in the beginning, and just use it a ton. Keep that variable consistent and fixed so you don't have to worry about it. Now, after 8 months or something, play around with other blades. You'll see more and more are usable by you. And then, like I did with Feather and Pull Silver, those two blades actually performed a whole lot better for me after 8 months than they did at first. Technique. It's all about technique. So there we go. There we go. That's a decent scent. That Azzaro Pour Homme. That's not bad. It's got a little bit of almost like an aldehyde, kind of high pungency to it. But then there's like some a little hint of floral in there. That's maybe citrus all in there too. That's well designed. How about that? And you wouldn't think it was floral. That note I'm picking up, and I may even be wrong totally, but it's all blended and kind of hidden, and you get an impression of it at first, and then you start to try to pick it apart, like me, like what I'm doing. Yeah, citrus, I think. Maybe a touch of an aquatic. That's neat. I didn't see that coming. I learned something. All right. All right, let's clean up the gear. I may be actually relocating to a different room for rent, and kind of unexpectedly, and doing it during the Lather games is probably might be detrimental to my Lather games player experience, but we'll just roll with it. Give this guy a good workout on the towel here. Hey, here's a little trick. If all you have is a hand towel and you're like in a hotel or something, you stretch it out like this. You hold your elbow to one corner, and then the bottom and peak down here, you hold with your hand, and you've got this big old triangle to work your brush. Like that. Give your brush a good workout if it needs it. Hey, aloha, Wyatt. Oh man, you're welcome. I appreciate that. I do love the Fatipin carve as well. Gotcha. Well, I'm glad they're serving you well. And that reminds me of another tip for newbies. Just because a razor works well for even a large number of people, it may not necessarily work well for you, or it may be a razor that you need to work for a while to adjust to, and then it'll be great. So, and so that's why I always recommend things. I also recommend things with reasons and with caveats, like saying people want a razor recommendation, and I'll say, I like the carve. When the reason why is because I like a smooth edge. I like that edge to be held tightly so that I don't get a lot of chatter. I like for that smooth, consistent feel. And I generally prefer milder razors. And that way they can put things in perspective. Because if they're looking for something aggressive, then maybe what I'm recommending, now carves get aggressive, so this isn't a perfect example, but people were saying that the Blackbird, years ago, I was doing research, people were saying that the Blackbird was so smooth and gave them such a close shave. For me, not smooth at all. It was so aggressive. It ripped me up, uncomfortable and irritating. It would have been nice if they could have expressed their whole worldview to me in the way of, I tend to like aggressive razors, and so I find the Blackbird very smooth. And that might have been helpful. So try to read reviews from people who give you kind of the whole picture, and pay attention to those especially, or reviews where a person is comparing a razor to one that you know about, And that, of course, is going to be more relevant and helpful. Major Mincemeat, hello, sir. Welcome. You got the trail end here. I just finished using the knot that was my first boar brush. The 830 has the clear plastic handle, and this is the 1305, but it's the same knot, and that's in honor of Wicked Edge Day, where we're using our first soap that we started out with, because Wicked Edge is a forum that often attracts a lot of newbies, and that's great. A lot of advice out there, a lot of support, places to plug in, things like that. So I'm not dissing on Wicked Edge at all. I post there as well. I try to come against some of the myths that are out there, because there are some bad advice, or at least kind of elitist advice, where people are taking their opinion and putting it out there as fact. And I try to help people not do that, or at least understand when people are doing that kind of thing. All right. Well, I think we're good. Good to talk to you guys today. Peter over in China, and I believe who is over there in California. Yeah, there we go. Maybe Wyatt is in Hawaii. Who knows? Aloha. And take care, guys. Good, nice, close shave with the tech tonight. And I used the nice soft boar, still quite young, so it's going to get more tips split and get even comfier. Used witch hazel as the post-shave product, with Azaro Pour Homme as the frag, and the Vanderhagen Deluxe puck to go back to the very beginning of my shaving days. All the best to you guys, and I hope there's something in this video to help you out. Take care now. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves.